When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Who is it? It's me, Vern. I know you're in there listening to the Gen X Grown Up podcast. Who? The Gen X Grown Up podcast, man. If you're going to listen, you should support them on Patreon. Do what? GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon. Show some support, man. They ain't here. I know they're not there, but you're listening to them. Come on, let me in. I want to be a fourth listener, too.
Gen X Grown Up is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up. Your dinner cannot just be French fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown up. Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listener, to this episode 182 of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. I am John. Joining me, as always, of course, is George. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's not a show without Mo. Hey, Mo, how are you?
How's it going, everybody?
In this episode, we watch a new film that follows the rise of an aspiring hip-hop trio from Northern Ireland, test drive some new automotive technology to look forward to in your next new car, and play the new hero shooter game where you can play as your favorite Marvel Comics characters. We're going to have those topics and many more lined up for you in this episode. Before we kick that off, though, we like to stop here at the beginning to listen to one of our fourth listeners. The three of us are here. We're liable to listen if anybody else does and bothers to tell us about it. You are our fourth listener. And the fourth listener for this episode is Brian J. And here's another one, How the Satanic Panic Impacted Me.
Jeez.
Subject line of his email. And it's popular.
Yeah.
A lot of people resonated. Okay, let's see what Brian had to say. Great show, guys. So I'm a Gen Xer who, thank you, by the way. So I'm a Gen Xer who grew up in the 70s within the context of religious fundamentalism. When the whole backward masking thing came out, I was so convinced of the reality of this phenomenon that I actually took all my rock albums and burned them in our wood-burning stove in the front room of our farmhouse.
Jeez, that's
wow.
not bad.
I was convinced. He goes on to say, here's the saddest part. These weren't Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne records. I destroyed my Styx, Foreigner, and it pains me to say this, Eagles live albums.
Oh, no. Ouch.
I don't know if the Eagles were they even backmasking or even accused of it?
I don't think so. They might not have been accused of backmasking, but Hotel California and Witchy Woman definitely fit into the satanic panic motif.
Okay, you have a point. I guess that's why they got burned. Anyway, Brian goes on to say, fortunately, I have replaced them all now that I've grown up and come out of that narrow mindset.
Cool.
Yeah, we were all a victim of it, Brian. Don't feel bad.
Yeah.
It impacted us all one way or the other. And if you got convinced, it's because they were lying to you, as we talked about. So don't feel bad. He wraps it up just saying, anyway, thanks again for a great show, Brian. Brian, thank you. We love that you wrote in. We'd love to hear about your reactions to the show. If you, listener, would like your email featured here on the show, you know it's drop dead easy. Just hit us up at podcast@genxgrownup.com. We read every single one, and most of them, just like Brian's, will eventually make the show. Okay, with that good business in the rearview mirror, it's time to jump into the body of episode 182 after this quick break.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
Starting tomorrow, the savings begin at 8 a.m. during the after-Christmas sales and clearances at Kaufman. Save 40% on fashionable suit looks and colorful separates from Evan Picone. Save 25 to 40% on men's outerwear from Bill Blass, Christian Dior, London Fog, and much more. Stock up for next year with great cards and wraps. Our entire stock reduced 50%. You'll find all of our best now selling for less during the after-Christmas sales and clearances. Starting tomorrow at 8 a.m. at Kaufman's.
We're going to get the ball rolling, as we always do at the top of each show, talking about new media we have been enjoying. Now, of course, this could be music or comics or books or television or movies or whatever you have been up to. And George, I want to start with you. You have something listed here that I had to ask you in the break how to pronounce it even. I'm not even sure what it is. What have you been checking out?
Yeah, so it's called St. Denis Medical. Now, this is a half-hour comedy show, workplace comedy, in the style of Superstore and Office. So, and actually, it shares some alumni from Superstore. So Sandra is in this as a series regular. Also, the pharmacist from Superstore, he's a series regular.
The smarmy pharmacist guy.
Mateo has made a couple of appearances in this as part of the nursing Filipino mafia, which has been some fun stuff. This series got recommended to me by one of my wife's therapists. So you guys know my wife had a major stroke a little over a year ago, and we go to therapy a couple of times a week. And while we're there in therapy, we often talk about things that, we're enjoying on TV or movies or sports or whatever with the therapist, just because it's part of that whole communal therapy process. And one of the therapists recommended say, oh, that's right, you guys love The Office, because my wife has a bunch of Office and Parks and Rec socks that she wears to therapy and stuff. And so they were saying, you guys need to check out this new show, St. Denis Medical. So I'm like, okay. I went and added it to the Plex server, got the first couple of episodes, and we were hooked from episode one. This is super funny. It's well written. It's just like The Office in that it's a documentary crew that is interviewing them during their day and filming them and whatnot. But it's also got a little bit of Superstore feel in the way they go about things. One of the main characters, who is kind of a surprise, not that he's so good at what he does or anything, but just to see him in this format, is David Alan Grier from back in the In Living Color days. He plays one of the surgeons, and he is a tremendous curmudgeon older guy in this series. They even have one guy who my son and I found through a TV show called The Jury or something like that, but it was this faux reality show where this guy thought he was a part of a reality show where the documentary crew was filming what it's like to be a jury member during a trial. But it turned out everybody else was fake. They were all actors except for the guy.
If you haven't seen it, it's really good, but
it's really funny. And that guy, one of the guys in there, he was kind of like this little green guy who was very just very new to the world kind of thing. He's in this show as well, playing a similar character who's a nurse that's like from a former religious cult group.
Really? Okay.
Well, actually, I think he's just like a Latter-day Saint. So
yeah, a little bit like a Latter-day Saint, but more culty-ish, apparently. They've got just some fun stuff. It's got 5 or 6 episodes out at this point. They just dropped 2 more episodes the other night. If you enjoy The Office, Parks and Rec, or Superstore, this show is right up your alley. I couldn't recommend it enough.
You said you watched a couple episodes and were hooked. While you were talking, I added 2 shows to my watch list already. I've added this St. Denis because, as you describe it, it's exactly. I've rewatched Superstore probably the whole series 3 or 4 times. Like The Office, I can tear through that thing. The characters you talk about, and then the jury duty, I went and looked that up. So now I've added 2 shows in the 5 minutes you've been talking. And I'm really looking forward to this St. Denis because I miss Superstore is canceled, and we didn't have anything like that right now. So I'm ready. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, I'm caught up on these episodes because that was somebody recommended to me as well. I was like, oh, and at first I was a little put off. I'm like, oh, another Office. That was in my head, when I saw it. But it's original enough where it works. Like the form, it's the same kind of format, but the characters are just different characters, are funny as hell. The situations are funny as hell.
I mean,
and it takes, I think it's an ER, isn't it? Is it an ER or is it regular?
It's the entire hospital, but the ER is where a lot of the filming takes place. Just because one of the main characters is like the managing nurse of the ER area. Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of that is filmed in that one thing. But the hospital administrator, who is, I forget her name, but if you guys ever saw the movie Blended, she was Drew Barrymore's business partner in the movie Blended, that were the closet queens, whatever they were called. She's pretty funny. I like a lot of the stuff she does. She's very cringe funny. Yes. As my son would say, that like The Office did. So she plays right into that role. She's an administrator who used to be a nurse who has no business being either. And she, like in the first episode, just to give you a taste, John, you're already going to be watching it.
Oh, yeah, I'm on board. Give me more.
The entire hospital, it's a smaller hospital, underfunded. They don't have a lot of money, but she wants to make them the top in the area. So she buys a $300,000 breast scanning machine.
Okay.
And as she's trying to go through with it, and people are throughout the day are complaining about money constraints in other parts of the hospital, and she starts to have second thoughts, and the crew is setting up the device, and they're like, all you got to do is sign here. And she like keeps like, well, let me think. Wait, is that a scuff on the bottom of that? And by the end of the episode, she's having them take it away in the U-Haul truck. So it's that kind of show. Yeah, very funny.
Love it.
Very positive. I really enjoy it. My wife loves it as well.
What I really like about it, though, is like the characters, like the day, they're just like a bunch of, just funny situations, But then when it comes down to them, like doing the work, they're actually very good at it. Like when they're doing
so they're like
work.
competent in this funny show. They're not incompetent. Like a Michael Scott. Like when he had to be a boss and he turned it on, he was amazing. But most of the time he was a clown.
I mean, some of the times they're competent. Some of the people are not necessarily competent. Like the jury duty nurse guy. Oh, he's not really competent in a lot of the situations.
But nursing he's okay though, but every other aspect of life he's not very good.
I don't know. Like in some of the first episodes, he doesn't even know how to give an IV. He's like freaking out about that. And like there's another episode where he's giving CPR to a guy and the guy survives. And like the rest of the episode, his whole mission is to get the man to tell him thank you for saving my life. And the guy won't do it.
It's funny. Yeah, and the way that episode ends, I was cracking up. That was really funny. But definitely worth watching.
It's a really funny situational documentary, office, superstore, whatever comedy that you want to call it. It's definitely formulaic. It definitely plays on the heels of its predecessors, but it's got enough new in there that it's well written enough, and the acting is tremendous. They do a great job, the actors do, with bringing these characters to life. Can't recommend it enough. So St. Denis Medical, I don't even know what channel it's on because I got it out of the blogosphere.
Let's say NBC, I don't know.
Check your TV guide. Check your local listings for times.
Exactly. Mo, what about you? It appears that you're watching a body part of mine.
Yeah. It's a movie on Netflix called Kneecap.
Oh, see, I have one of those. I don't have two.
I have two. I'm lucky.
Where'd you do with your other one, George?
Football.
Football, baseball. You lost it to the sports.
There you go.
Okay.
So actually, Amy found this because it was recommended because it has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 95% from audience.
Okay.
So both.
Promising.
So we're like, okay, Netflix, let's give it a shot. So it's basically about these two kids who grew up in Northern Ireland. Their father, or one of the kids' dads, was like a revolutionary, screw England, all the whole bit. And so he makes sure that his kid speaks Irish.
Okay.
And so now it starts them as little kids and they grow up as teenagers now. And they're just basically they sell drugs. They're just sort of like get mail-in drugs from other countries and sell it and that kind of thing. So they're small time. Mm-hmm. But they somehow get embroiled in this whole thing of Ireland trying to get rid of Irish as an official language, which is a true thing. Because they just said, just speak English, don't speak Gaelic. So it kind of starts off where one of the kids gets arrested and he just refuses to speak English. And the cop keeps talking to him and he just speaks Irish back to the guy. So they get someone else in there to like help translate, even though the kid totally speaks English. It doesn't really matter. And so he's translates. He finds out that the kid like writes all this like amazing rap music, like poetry and stuff. He sees it. So he's an ex-music teacher that's like disgruntled. So he convinces these kids like go to his little recording studio and write a song and do a rap song in Irish.
Oh,
so a lot of it's in Irish. They do English. They go back and forth, but a lot of it's in Irish. So without meaning to, they sort of become this symbol of being Irish, speaking the language and how important it is. And, you know, some of the younger people are starting to learn it now because of them, you know, and all this stuff. And it's about them and the situation around it. Nobody you know is in it. It turns out they're actually a true rap group. They're a rap group called Kneecap. They actually exist.
So is this a docudrama or
sort
it's just kind of
it's like a fictionalization of theirs, like 8 Mile. You know, it's like it's about the you know what I mean? It's them, but you know, kind of not them. The only person who's in it that anyone would know is Michael Fassbender.
Oh, yeah.
He's not a huge role, but he plays like, you know, one of the dads in it and stuff. Entertaining as hell. And even though they do speak a lot of Irish in it, it just works. Like it flows. Like you're not sitting there like, what? What are they saying? Like either they do have subtitles, George, just so you know. There are some subtitles.
Unlike the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah. But some of the things like, I mean, sometimes they don't, but they don't need it. Like you just totally know what they're talking about. Like you just because the conversation flow, you know what's going on and stuff. The music itself is actually pretty good, but it's funny. It's like a light comedy as well. So it's a really great movie.
You know, you mentioned Michael Fassbender being the only known actor in this. I've noticed he's kind of pulled a couple of these roles out of his back pocket lately. Remember, he was in that soccer movie about the soccer team from the islands going to the World Cup and all that stuff. It's almost like he's trying to get away from the Marvel X-Men universe and trying to branch out into these different roles. I love him as an actor. Just on his name alone makes me want to see the film.
Oh yeah, he's not a huge part, but he's amazing. I mean, you know, his acting. And he said the two guys are basically playing themselves, so they do fine. You know, so it's not a reach role for them. You know, but
we need a type. How about you? You're the guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but they're surrounded by it, and it's just a really great movie. It's fun. Like I said, we watched. I was like, wow, I can see why I got 95%. Like I would totally recommend this movie. So if you're looking for something to watch on Netflix, go for it. Kneecap. That's what I got. So, John, what you're going to talk about? Oh, this is going to be great. You go for it, man.
Yeah. So surprising. Well, not surprising now. A year ago, surprising when I heard this series announced. So you remember back in the mid 2000s, 2010s or whatever, on Showtime, there was a series called Dexter starring Michael C. Hall. And it was all about, he's effectively a serial killer who works at the Miami-Dade Police Department as a blood spatter analyst. And he works there because he was born with serial killer tendencies. And his father, when he was young, recognized, oh, look, he's hurting animals or whatever. He has these desires. And he was a cop, tries to channel his son to teach him how to channel those urges and ultimately to kill bad people who he's certain are guilty, who the law can't get to, like a vigilante, right? And then that was a great series. The last couple seasons kind of went wobbly, but it was still enjoyable. And then it was over. And then they came back with Dexter New Blood a 3 years ago, which was like a catch up with him and his son and everything. And at the end of that show, he was shot by his son. Spoiler alert for this 3-year-old TV show. Sorry. And so I figured the story was over. And then I heard they're doing a prequel series. Think the young Sheldon as compared to Big Bang. Like you have the show that happened at this time. Let's go back in time and see this person as a youngster. So it just premiered. I've seen one episode so far, and it took me all of about 7 minutes to be in love with this show for all sorts of reasons. You probably won't know a lot of the people in it, but you will definitely know Dexter's father, played by Christian Slater, of all people. Oh. And he's amazing in this. So in the original Dexter series, Dexter's father was passed away. And so he would see him like as a ghost, remembering things that he taught him. Well, now you get to see him learning this. And Michael C. Hall is there, like the young Sheldon thing, narrating. He's telling the story. And one of the best parts of Dexter was this deadpan, I don't really have emotion kind of narration.
A little snarky too.
Very snarky. Yeah, definitely in there. And it's biting commentary that's funny and macabre and creepy at the same time. And I'll give you an example like you kind of did, George, with your show. We get to see Dexter's first kill. We know from the history, we learned in the original Dexter that Dexter's first kill was a nurse in the hospital where his father was being treated, who was one of those let's kill people and put them out of their misery kind of nurses. You hear these stories, right? And his dad gives him the go-ahead to kill this older nurse. And as he's setting up for the first kill and he has the room and everything, this narration goes, "You never forget your first time. Mine was with an older woman." Because he's about to kill this nurse, his first kill. I remember when I first showed the show to my wife, the original show, the old one. She's like, "I can't watch a show like this. It's about a killer. I can't I don't get behind him. I don't want to relate to a killer or get behind him or anything. But the way it's put together and the way he's genuinely a real person trying to do good despite his, you could say, disability, his innate urge to kill." They have captured all of that in a way that takes place in like 1991. So there's VHS tapes and beepers everywhere. So it's kind of a period piece. It's great on the quality of the first episode alone. Even if you didn't watch the old ones, which it'll pay off if you did, but on its own, well put together show and worth watching.
I really like how you see all the original characters much younger. And the thing is, as soon as you see them, you know who they are.
Oh, yeah.
The second you cast. See him, and as soon as he opens his mouth, you're like, I know who that is. You just know who these people are, because it's like how he even gets involved in the police department and how he goes that direction. Because first he was a medical student, weird, but then he goes off. So yeah, I thought it was really great. I'm trying to figure out where. I'm still curious to see where it's going to go. Like what?
Sure.
Like is it going to be kind of a similar thing where he's going to be going against somebody? Like in Dexter, like every season he was him versus usually another serial killer kind of deal, or is it just going to be episodic? I mean, I don't know. But and the guy they playing young Dexter, great casting.
Really good, captured him. Yeah. Yeah. And just like with any prequel, I mean, something like, Strange New Worlds in Star Trek or whatever, some characters have plot armor because look, certain things can't happen to this person because we know where he is in 10 years. But still, you can tell stories within that that are interesting. And so far, I mean, they're off to a good start for me. And Dexter's sister, Deb, is a notoriously foul-mouthed character, always spewing profanities. George, you would love her. and my favorite line from this first episode was when they were in the hospital and the nurse, not the killer nurse, this other nurse was talking and goes, "I don't know what to tell you. You got to stop smoking those fucking cigarettes. Oh, pardon my French." And the daughter's sitting there and says, "Don't worry, your French is impeccable." She applauds it. So yeah, Dexter, Original Sin. It's a creepy premise, but a really well done show. And the more you solve the old ones, the more you'll enjoy this one. But even on its own, give it a shot.
The holidays are back at Starbucks, and there's so much to share. With classics like Caramel Brulee Latte, Peppermint Mocha, and Chestnut Praline Latte, we're celebrating everyone's flavor of festivity. Order yours in the app.
Come to me.
Focus Features invites you to succumb to the darkness.
Nosferatu.
From director Robert Eggers comes a masterpiece of horror.
He is coming. This creature is a force more powerful than evil. It is death itself.
Nosferatu. Rated R. Under 17 nanometer without parent. Now playing only in theaters. Special engagements in Dolby and IMAX.
Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
Pulsar, for the times when you're doing your best. Pulsar, for the times when you're put to the test. Pulsar, for the times when your love is expressed. Pulsar, make Pulsar part of your life. Pulsar quartz, for you and the ones you love.
Pulsar, beautifully affordable at JCPenney.
All right, let's jump into tech and toys. George, what do you got for us today?
Well, so it's a little bit of tech, definitely not a toy, but it's just an interesting thing that I discovered because I was having a problem. And, when you have a problem, you go and try and find a solution. I have this movie that is a terrible movie. It's called The Darkest Hour. It's this post-apocalyptic alien invasion kind of thing based out of Russia with Americans who are over there visiting. And these aliens come down and they're invisible and they use electricity to kill people. It's a terrible movie. Okay.
We'll trust you.
But I like it because, it's a nostalgic thing for me. But the copy that I was able to procure through the public domain, it had subtitles for the Russian speaking parts, which was important to the storyline, but they were always off by 30 seconds.
Okay.
Oh. Now, I don't know how many times you guys have gotten movies from the public domain, but oftentimes The subtitles can be mistimed depending upon the copy of the video that you have versus the copy of the subtitles that you have. And the subtitle world is incredibly difficult to wade through and find the right subtitle, if there is even one available for the video copy that you have of a particular film or TV show. Like I said, I've been looking for the proper subtitles for this movie for at least 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just irritating enough. Like if it's only a couple seconds off, you're not going to notice it. Right? 30 seconds.
That's a lot.
It's worthless.
It's quite a bit.
It's distracting and garbage. Yeah.
And they were 30 seconds early. So like the subtitle would come up.
How did that person die?
30 seconds later, the scene would happen.
Why did you shoot me in the face? Oh, here it comes.
Exactly. So I started playing around the other day and I was like, oh, let me try and see if I can do this manually, which is a pain in the butt when you're looking at like 70, 80 subtitles in a movie. If it's a movie with nothing but subtitles, I wouldn't even attempt it. And then I said, you know what? There's a thing called ChatGPT out there. Let me just see what ChatGPT could do. We've used ChatGPT ourselves to help us generate interesting titles for the videos or maybe descriptions or things of that nature. And I just went to ChatGPT and I said, if I gave you an SRT file, could you adjust the times for me? That's all I said to ChatGPT. ChatGPT said, sure thing. Just tell me to increase plus this many seconds or decrease this many seconds, and I can give you the file back.
No.
That's what no. There is a way to attach files to your ChatGPT sessions. It's a little, paperclip icon. You attach the file, tell it what you want done with the file. It created a new file for me. I clicked the little button, downloaded the file. I had brand new subtitles. Took less than 10 seconds.
That's
2 years.
And they were
searching for yes, perfect. I mean, the subtitles were already correct.
I know, but they were in the wrong spot the whole way through.
They were. And so I went and figured out exactly, I think it was like 22 seconds I figured out.
Okay.
Just by, timing the scene to when the subtitle popped up. And I was like, okay, it needs to be moved 22 seconds. I told ChatGPT to do it. Whole new file. Done. I've been 2 years I've been trying to get this shit done. ChatGPT does it in 10 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the subtitle files themselves are usually pretty straightforward. It's just like a time code, words. But just the idea that trying to do that yourself and manually go through and it would be impossible.
Pain in the ass.
It'd drive you crazy to do that yourself. I'm just, I'm surprised, to be quite honest. I'm just surprised that worked.
I was very happy and surprised at how flawlessly it worked. That was my big thing.
What I can't tell you what part of it stuns me the most. At first that it worked, yes.
Yeah.
But then I start backing up. So it had to know what an SRT file was. It had to know the format. And it all starts to, it's starting to coalesce in my head, it knows how to write C# and stuff like that. So SRT files, just another flavor of XML and raw text.
Yeah.
But it understands there's an in and an out and add 22 seconds to both and do the math and modify the... That's what AI should be for, is doing mundane shit that I could do myself, but is a royal pain in the ass.
Yep. And it worked.
Wow.
I had never considered that application for it. That's crazy.
Walk away is, if there's something that you don't want to do but needs to be done and it has to do with computer files, ask ChatGPT and see if he can do it for you.
Maybe, yeah.
I will caution you, there are some limitations. I'm on the free model of ChatGPT because I'm not paying for shit. It's public domain, right? But ChatGPT does have some limitations with its free models. For instance, I was trying to do a similar function after this was successful with some emails that I had where I wanted ChatGPT to pull some information out of the emails, create a spreadsheet for me of that information, and let me download the file. Now, first of all, it can do it, and it was perfectly willing to do it. However, there was a limitation on how many emails I could upload at one time within a 24-hour period. So I had 30 or 40 emails that I wanted to do this with, and I could only do 4 a day on the free model. So there are some limitations. There are some other ChatGPT-like products out there that say they are totally free. Don't fucking believe it. They also have premium features and whatnot, but at least it has capabilities like this that it never occurred to me until I just was frustrated and fed up one night and said, to hell with it. I'm just going to ask.
Yeah, I never would have thought to even do that, to be quite honest.
No,
it would never occur to me that that's something that to even try to do. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Stunned.
Well, I know John didn't have any tech or toys for this segment, but Mo, since it's your segment, I always assume that you're always going to have something because we know historically you've always had something for
That's right. I kind of have to. So Amy, she had a Mazda that was just nothing but trouble. Okay. 24,000 miles, had to replace the transmission to give you an idea how much trouble, you know. The radio would just randomly change stuff on you, like it'd change stations or call people or just randomly. It was just ridiculous. And then they wanted to charge her $800 to fix it.
Wow.
And so we traded in. We got a brand new car now. We're very happy. It's a Honda. But I was just shocked about now. I have a truck that I've had for over 10 years. I love it. Don't plan on getting rid of it. It works great. Never had a single issue with it. So this is the first time I really experienced like a new car in a while. And I was just shocked because this wasn't even like a top of the line model, but I was shocked at the amount of technology that was in this and the amount of things it does for you that it does. So it had things like, so it had some basic things where I'd be like, okay, it'll put your brights up and down, like on and off, depending if there's no one in front of you, it'll put your brights up automatically and do stuff like that. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. It has cameras up front for doing various activities. But one thing it'll do is it reads speed limit signs and puts them up on a dash.
Like in the real world, the sign on the side of the road.
The sign on the side of the road.
Okay.
If it detects it, it'll put up like right there in the front, right next to your speedometer. It'll put what the speed limit is right there. If it sees a sign, I was like, oh, okay, that could be handy, right? But then it also does things like it'll keep you centered in your lane automatically. So if you're driving, and I tried it just because it's what the hell, it keeps me. It turns. My hand's not touching the steering wheel. I mean, I was like I kept it really close because I don't trust machines. And so I was like, my question is just a general question. Is that going too far? Like, I mean, come on. I mean, what's left? And to me, it's like I can see someone getting overconfident with something like that, thinking that it's going to, it'll keep me in the center. I don't have to pay attention anymore. And all of a sudden, next, the person now, is that risk less than the risk of somebody just being a dumbass and going off the side of the lane? I don't know.
It's intriguing to me. I'd heard of some of these technologies before, didn't know about the camera looking at the real world and adjusting things, but there's, of course we hear about, well, I guess Tesla cars, I guess some other electronic cars and stuff have the automatic driving, which is really fast. Like the car will come and pick you up at the curb, that crazy stuff. That stuff blows me away. And I'm maybe in 20 years, I'll trust that. I don't right now.
I don't either.
These assistive technologies, they sound really interesting because I know my wife got a car maybe 5 years ago or so, and it had some kind of adaptive, like she said, turn it off because I feel like it's taking control away from me. If you know it's there, I can see the assistive stuff being nice. Where's the speed limit? Keep me in my lane.
Yeah.
But I think I would be inclined to turn it off just because it would feel weird to have some resistance, like the car's trying to do something I didn't want it to do, even if it's smarter than me, until I trusted it later.
So some of the things that you're talking about, Mo, I've already had in my wife's van. The little the speed sign being put up on your display on your dash, we have that in her van.
Oh, wow.
We have the little alarm that sounds if she moves in and out of the lane improperly, but it doesn't center you in the lane like you're talking about, although that's been a feature that I've seen advertised for at least the last 4 or 5 years now on vehicles. Been a while for me. One thing that she has on her van that's kind of like a predecessor to some of those is the adaptive cruise control. A lot of cars have that where
that has it.
You decide how closely you want to follow the cars in front of you, and then it can vary your speed according to the car in front of you, even to the point of stopping your vehicle when the car in front of you stops. So that's a little bit more akin to the keeping you centered on line. A lot of the newer cars now, especially the electric vehicles from the major companies, the Fords and the Hondas and everybody else, they're not just doing the self-centering thing. They're trying to adapt the Tesla model of driving for you thing. Now you ask, is that going too far? No. And the reason why I say no is because the original motor vehicles that we had in, Model T Ford land and everything, you look at those, compare what we are used to and think of as commonplace now, the people back then would have been, that's too far. You don't have to crank that engine up. What's a windshield wiper, right? I mean, what's a windshield?
Where do you hook up
even?
the horse?
Yeah. Just put your child out front. He'll wipe the windows for you.
I don't think any of this is going too far. I think it is just the next evolution in that technology for us. It'd be the same thing as, is this computer thing going too far? Is AI going too far? I don't think any of it is going too far.
Okay.
What goes too far is how human beings use it.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, anything. Well, I'm curious, given having a brand new car now, I have heard, we have always been big fans of the Connect Your Phone, the Android Auto or the Apple CarPlay. I had heard there was a trend in a lot of automotive manufacturers to stop supporting that and have their own infotainment system that's outside of that. What did you find in this new car? Are they still adopting that, or they do something new?
Luckily, it didn't have that. Thank God. That would drive me crazy too. Actually, it does. It goes one step up, which actually I really like, is that it's wireless Android or Apple.
Sure.
And it has a place, if you set your phone on it, it charges your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, in the car.
In a few
yeah,
cars
you don't have
now,
to plug it in. It's just like when what do you call that? The
charger is in one of the surfaces, like a cup holder or somewhere you can lay your phone.
You just put your phone in there and it charges your phone, which I'm like, okay, that counters the two biggest problems I have, which is plugging your phone in and, but just the fact that, and also because we both have iPhones, you could switch which one controls it.
Sure. Yep.
So you just say, it's Mo's iPhone now. Let's just, let's switch to Amy's iPhone, and it'll just switch back and forth. So that was I was like, oh, I like that. And it has USB-C ports like all over the place.
Oh, welcome to the future.
So I was like, wow. I mean, I was actually surprised at some of the things it had, but and as far as like driverless cars, I'm all for driverless cars one day, because I know at some point I will no longer be able to drive. So I'm hoping by then
maintain your independence.
We'll have like self-driving cars, so I don't need to call somebody else for a ride. But yeah, I guess my concern is people becoming over reliant on these things rather than their own senses. Don't turn your head, assume that your car is going to warn you if there's a car in your blind spot instead of turning your head and checking.
It's a risk.
So I don't know. I guess that's my only concern.
So this is an oversimplification of the argument, and it doesn't have the real world consequences that what you're talking about might, but you're basically having our math teacher's calculator argument. When we were in school, especially as old as we are, the math teachers would say, you're not allowed to use a calculator because you'll never know how to do math.
No, right.
But now it's not only a tool that's allowed, it's required in even elementary math classes these days.
And I have an issue with that, to be honest.
So while we may believe that we benefited from using the calculator or not using the calculator so that we learned how to do math on our own, I'm sorry, but even as good as I am at math, doing math in my head, there is no question that the calculator or my phone's calculator is a billion times more reliable and faster than me. So why not use it when it's available? Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I totally agree with you on that part. If you have a tool available to make your life easier, you should use it. Absolutely. My only issue I have with the calculator argument is that, I see kids that can't tell you what 8 times 8 is.
I don't care.
I do. I think you need to know that
I understand, but why? My point is, why does it matter? If they have a device that can just as quickly let them know. Here's the other argument, right? Okay, so memorizing facts or trivia and everything. A lot of kids don't have that same memory because they have Google.
They have their phones. Yeah.
So are you going to say that they shouldn't use Google? No, they absolutely should use Google because it's another tool. I understand that we have a predisposition to keeping things the way that we learned how to do them, but I don't think that's right. I think we have to evolve.
I disagree with your argument. Just because something in the past doesn't mean it's wrong.
I didn't say it was wrong. But I just said it's evolved.
No, but I said that by the virtue of maybe the way we learn math, I think understanding how to do some basic math in your head and understanding how it works. Like, so if you don't understand how something works, then I have an issue with that. Like, you need to understand. Now, once you understand it, use all the tools you want because you know how it got that answer. But it's like using AI right now. People just assume it's right? And without doing any 1-2 steps of digging to find out. And I think that's a skill that we had to use as kids, right? Because you didn't have sources that readily available to find information. Like you had to go to 2 or 3 places to get information usually, right? And so I think that's a problem, that we don't have the ability, like that we are too trusting in technology to do some thinking for us, that some basic thing I think we should be able to do ourselves, some basic things that we should be able to do ourselves.
Says the 3 old guys doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Come on.
The other thing my math teacher always told me that didn't come true was You can't use a calculator because you're not always just going to have a calculator in your pocket.
That's true. That has changed. That has definitely changed.
There's some merit there.
Yeah, because there was a time you would not have a calculator in your pocket.
Of course. Yeah.
Not that far in the past either, actually. But
I guess my last follow-up on your car, Mo, is, so I have this movie with bad subtitles. Can your car take an SRT file?
One day it probably can.
Maybe one day it will. Yeah. And I'll be over-reliant on it. My fault.
But interesting, and everyone out there, if you guys have opinions on this, like to hear it too. I mean, it's an interesting topic, and I think there's lots of ways to cut this one.
I feel like this is the debate, Gen X ability or ingenuity debate. That could be like one that we would do later on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. Here's a preview. I'm going to moderate because I'm going to let you. I was far too entertained during that last section to want to be into it. I want to listen. Yeah, this is a good discussion. That's why I didn't cut you off. That was great, man. Okay. Thanks for the update on your new car and the fascinating discussion, guys. Stick around. We'll be right back with some games.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
There's a lot we miss up here at the North Pole. White Flower Day, for instance. They'll be having it tomorrow at Macy's. It would be great to be there. It's a big help to me because so many people shop and save at Macy's White Flower Day on the gifts they're giving for Christmas.
The elves are restless tonight.
Naturally, tomorrow is White Flower Day. It's the biggest one-day sale of the year at all Macy's.
Own your own two-piece trimline telephone for only $25. It's a White Flower Day special in electronics tomorrow only at Macy's.
This is the main event of the podcast. For the 3 in attendance locally and the millions listening around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time!
All right, time to talk about games, and unlike the last segment, we've all three got something to talk about here. However, I want to talk about something I was looking forward to just long enough to tell you guys I haven't fucking played it. So,
okay,
nice.
I want to talk about Marvel Rivals.
Oh, yeah.
This is a game that I was looking forward to because it's a free game that you can play through Steam or any other platform that it's on. It is the Marvel Universe with its characters and their abilities and everything in a 5 versus 5 format. So like those old tournament games and stuff that are very popular and whatnot, it's graphically, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The characters are really fun and interesting. They apparently have really cool backstories. And I say apparently because my son was looking so forward to this that he was like on the pre-list thing or whatever to make sure he got it day one. His brothers for his birthday bought him like $100 worth of shit inside the game, skins probably or something else. And he has been playing it nonstop ever since. And I'm glad he's having a good time. I watched over his shoulder for 4.5 minutes and realized there's no fucking way I should be playing this game.
Why? What's wrong with it?
Too fast for my brain. I watched him play and I know it was intuitive to him. Like he could just do it with no problem whatsoever. Fingers flying across the keyboard and mouse. Like it was just, built into his second nature, all muscle memory and reaction. I couldn't understand what the hell I was looking at, let alone play this goddamn thing. And it dawned on me while I was watching him that as much as I love Marvel, as much as I was interested in seeing what they would do with the characters and their combining forces and things like that, as interested as I was in that, what I am no longer interested in is getting a headache playing a fucking video game.
I hear you.
So have you watched him? Have you actually tried it? Is there a possibility it just looks chaotic? No, you actually tried it.
I have not tried it, and I will not try it. No, and I'm not going to.
Because the old ways are better. We just had this discussion in the last segment.
No,
maybe the new ways are okay.
Because I observed it, and I didn't want to do it. Now, I'm saying for my son and the kids that he's playing with, I'm happy that they love it. So I'm still good with them doing something with it.
Right, sure.
It's just not for me.
Okay.
Like, I still do math in my head because I'm good at it, but I don't begrudge them using a calculator all the time. I couldn't. I know that it would frustrate me. I definitely would get a headache because I was getting one just watching him. And I think that games like that are definitely developed for people with faster, quick twitch reactions and younger brains, because older brains they're slower. It's that simple. I think it's beautiful. I love that they love it. I will not be playing it just because I don't think I can handle it. I think I'm not capable. It's just same way you're not going to see me going out for an NFL football team. I like watching football. I'm not getting out there with them big son bitches because they're all younger and stronger and faster than I am.
So, Mo, George would like to rescind his looking forward to from last time. He's no longer looking forward to this game.
I have looked forward to it, and now I'm done. But
I'm done looking back at it. All done.
On our Discord server, somebody posed a question that I wanted to bring out, and we'll get some feedback from the listener, so I'll just mention it really briefly. A long time ago, I did this Humble Bundle series where I went through all of these games in a bundle, and I did one game on each podcast, and it took like a year almost to go through them all. And
I went like A through Z or something, or
no, I did like an A through Z thing,
something
and
like that. I remember, yeah.
And I went through and said whether the games were interesting to me or not, and how much they cost in the bundle, and what the real value was, and compared all that stuff. People are asking for that same kind of thing again, but this time on like a single bundle. And I kind of want to know how people would like to hear that, or if they would like to hear it, because it's just a few people on our Discord server, genxgrownup.com/Discord. However,
zing!
If there are more people that are interested in it, I might consider doing it either on a bundle I've already bought that is, no longer available, because there's no point in trying to do one while it's available, because they only last for a couple of weeks.
It'll be gone by you get to episode 2. Sure.
Yeah. But if people are out there are interested in it, write into podcast@genxgrownup.com and let me know what you would be interested in seeing. If there's a particular bundle maybe that you would like me to give a try to, I'll play each one of the games and see what I think of them and do all the statistics and the analysis and everything if people are interested.
Cool. I enjoyed it, so I hope you do.
Yeah, we'll see. Mo, you look like you want to go talk to Mr. Tolkien, though, with your game.
Oh, yeah. It was actually it was a game that was free on Epic for a while. That's where I grabbed it from. It was one of the free games that they do, periodically every week or so they drop another free game. It was called Return to Moria, and it's a third person, like survival outdoor kind of game where you're basically a dwarf that's trapped inside the mountain, and you basically have to craft things and build your camp and protect yourselves, because occasionally goblins will attack you randomly and destroy everything you own, which happened. But it has a neat little story around it. And, again, it was free. So I was like, let me give it a shot. It was entertaining. Some of these survival games get a little tedious to me sometimes, if that, what I mean? Like, how many times do I have to go mine this one thing? And, how many times I have to do this one thing? They did a pretty good job of keeping that balance where you don't have to constantly, like, there's usually stuff near enough to you that you can just get it and play, move on with the game. Plus there's a story behind it, which is nice. I think is kind of cool too. So it's not just, so as you progress and as you build your base or camp up, the next part of the story kind of unlocks. So you kind of move on to the next phase of the story, which is one way I think of keeping people interested, rather than like some of the the zombie ones where you have to build a camp and the zombies attack every day. But that's really the whole game, right? There's no end to it. Whereas this one, it seems like there would be an end at some point. But yeah, but to me, it was entertaining. Really nice graphics for free. It's kind of hard to complain too much. So, definitely, if you like that style of game, I would definitely recommend it.
Okay. What was it called? Return to Moria.
Return to Moria.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, Johnny, you're playing it. Actually, that's like a super late release game, isn't it?
Yeah, very current. Yeah, brand new game. So I'd heard about this one coming out for a while, and it's on every platform, and it's getting 9 out of 10 across the board. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, this is a compelling game. I was watching trailers for a long time, and this thing just looks gorgeous. More important than how it looks is that the reviewers I was watching talk about how this adventure is like on caliber with some of the best Indiana Jones movies in terms of storytelling and the mystery that you're solving and the characters and that kind of thing. And so I was of two minds. Like, I was super eager to play this game, but the base edition, $69.99.
Oh,
I mean, it's super expensive.
That's the base? Oof.
The base game, right? Not the super duper or anything. No. Well, it's just because it's like a quadruple A title at this point. It has licensing and it has, it's impeccable. But anyway, what happened was I'm always keeping an eye out. It just launched a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, well, let's see usually there'll be somebody has it for 10% off or 15% on launch day. I'm like, I don't want to spend 70. I don't even want to spend 60, but let's see what's possible. And I went looking, and I happened to log in one afternoon to isthereanydeal.com. And I looked and I searched for it, and it said, well, it's 69, 69, 69, 65, 65, 0 at Humble Bundle. Like, what? Huh? Zero? So I clicked on it and I went over there. And sure enough, it said, if you will link your Steam account to Humble Bundle, you will get a key for this game for free.
Wow.
So not only did I do it immediately, I got my key. I turned around and I'm like, I blasted on our Discord server, GenXGrownUp.com/Discord. And I told people there, here's the link to go do it. I messaged a couple of friends. Hey, it's free right now. Go do it. No sooner than I did that, I started getting word back. Dead link. Doesn't work. What's going on? I'm like,
uh-oh.
So I did a search on Reddit. Yeah. Humble Bundle screwed the pooch.
Oh,
they should not have done that. And many people said, yeah, I clicked. It worked for me for a second, but the key never came in and it's out of the store. I, however, got in on the bleeding edge. And so I did have a free key. And I downloaded it. And I installed it. And I started playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for free.
Nice.
Here's what I'll tell you about this game. Gorgeous. The guy they have voicing Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, 90%. It's so close to a young Harrison Ford he's doing kind of a little impression, I guess. The tutorial of the game is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, sweet.
It starts on the Paramount Mountain.
Nice.
Indy's back walks away from you. Right, now it's a little extended. You're going through the jungle. He finds the dart in the tree, and he, how long since he's been here? He's down by the waterfront. The guy cocks his pistol. Indy turns around and whips the gun out of his hand with a whip.
Nice.
I'm like, this is gorgeous. It made me feel like Indiana Jones. It felt like a movie. My graphic settings were kind of struggling. I'm like, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This is amazing. I'm going to quit out of it, change my graphic settings, try it again. I closed the game, and a pop-up appeared. A game in your library has been removed because the rights holders did not have the authority to grant you this key. If you believe you've reached this recording in error or whatever, talk to whoever you got the key from. They were able to reverse that key. So
that sucks.
Here are the 2 or 3 or 5 things I've learned from this situation. One is the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle game is amazing. When it comes down in price, I'm talking like a $25. I think it's worth the $50, but $25, I'll get it. Like, I'm not waiting for the $5 day. It's really, really good. I got a good teaser, a taste of it. The other thing I learned that I didn't know is that when you buy a key from someone, it can be rescinded. If, maybe they got those keys illegally and were selling them or giving them away. If they can identify them, they'll get rid of them. But the third part of it that is the first time it affected me tangibly is that, oh yeah, I know people are talking about digital rights versus physical media. Like, if someone had handed me a copy of the game at the store at the mall, they could not have broken in my house and taken it back from me.
Right.
I would own it. In this case, somebody somewhere was able to throw a switch and go, you didn't do anything wrong, but somebody did, so you're no longer allowed the license to play this game. And we know with DRM, you don't own the game, you own the right to play it on the platform where you bought it.
Right.
So if Steam goes belly up tomorrow, you lose everything theoretically that's connected to the internet. So it was an interesting, I don't know anybody else that even got a key. I must have been on the bleeding edge and just accidentally, I didn't hear about it. Let's look. And it just happened to be at the right time. But
interesting.
It's weird. And so it makes me again wonder, I don't have a lot of physical copies of some of my favorite games. Maybe I should start looking for those. I mean, not that I'm paranoid about big companies blowing up. I'll be dead before Google is. I'm not worried about that. But little things like this can happen.
Yeah. So you actually physically still have it installed in your system. You just can't play it.
That's right. But it won't play. Yeah. There's 120 gigs or whatever sitting on my drive, but it's just waiting for a license. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a problem with one thing you talked about there. You said I want to go get physical copies of my favorite games. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
A lot of them
How
aren't.
many physical copies of PC games are out there? Not only just for new quadruple A titles like you're talking about here, but what about the independent games you love, like Limbo and stuff? They might have a physical copy for Switch or something like that, but for PC,
yeah,
I don't think they have that kind of stuff anymore.
And even then, maybe it might just be one of those like novelty releases from limited run games. It was like, hey, you guys, you loved this particular, little indie game. We're going to print, 5,000 of them. And then it's not like an actual release.
Right.
It's just like a collectible more than anything.
I think the only thing we're going to be able to do is somebody's going to have to revive, game cracking culture, crack Steam or something like that so that people could have their own independent of Steam gaming platform to play these games through, because like Mo pointed out, you have the executable downloaded on your system. It's just that it needs the Steam launcher to actually activate. Somebody somewhere is probably already working on it. If not, somebody's already got it figured out, or somebody will figure out how to make that executable run without being tied into Steam. That's the only way we're going to get away from this, at least in the PC world.
And I'm no longer really interested in game piracy like I was when I was an Amiga user, an Atari user in the 80s and 90s. It's frankly, they've done what iTunes did. They made it more convenient to buy the game for cheap than it is to mess around with pirating it. The problem here is I did buy it. I acquired a license legally, and it's almost like, hey, pirates, I don't want to be in your camp, but I would like you to fix this one game on my hard drive because I feel like I actually earned it. I went through the appropriate steps, but yeah, I haven't heard anybody else that happening to. But the takeaway, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is great. And maybe I'll talk about it in 6 months when it's on sale and I actually get to play it.
Streaming now on Peacock. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are back.
That's hot. Loves it.
For a show-stopping reunion that will prove putting on an opera is anything but simple.
We're really good at this.
One thing's for sure, they won't be upstaged.
Good to have you back. Come on, we've got a show to do.
Paris and Nicole, The Encore, a 3-part reunion special. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
If you're a die-hard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at genxgrownup.com/Patreon.
Hey, Mom! When you come home from Kmart, you can feel very good about what you bought. Because along with the best brand names and the low Kmart price, you have the assurance that if anything you buy at Kmart isn't right for any reason, we'll do our best to make you happy.
This thing doesn't catch good. Well, let's find one that does.
Kmart. Satisfaction always.
Kmart, we've got it, and we've got it good.
Coming in the back end of the show, this is the part where we like to take a moment to talk about the things we're looking at now or looking forward to between now and the next time we get together. And I'd like to start with you, Mo. What do you have on the horizon?
Sure. Looking forward to a movie Nosferatu. It's coming out Christmas Day. It's another vampire, but I think it's along the same lines as the original movie, just a lot more updated. Got some great actors in it, like Bill Skarsgård's in it, Nicholas Holt's in it. I mean, a bunch of great actors. Looks creepy. I'm definitely all in on that one. Good Christmas Day release movie. Let's talk about vampires. The second thing is The Rig, TV series that came out about a couple of years ago that I thought was over, actually. Turns out it's not. It's about an oil rig that gets surrounded by like this fog, and they're basically cut off from everything. It's like some weird supernatural thing, and I
think I might have talked about it on the podcast at the time.
Yeah, really? It was a while back. It was a long time ago. Like I said, I thought it was done and over with. New season's coming out the 2nd of January. Second season starting, so I'm looking forward to that. Of course, I'm gonna have to rewatch the first season again because it's been so long. I'm not sure.
It's been so long. Yeah.
I gotta do it. The last thing I'm looking forward to is a movie called 2073. I don't know if you guys heard of this. It's coming out the 27th. And it's a fictional movie. It's like dystopian future, right? The year is 2073. All the stuff is bad. And it's a person who's going through trying to figure out how they got there. And they're going back to things that are happening today to show how it got to that point.
Like not time travel, like jumping back in time to
like
see
memories.
the scene.
Kind of.
Got it.
Like, when this thing happened here, and then when this country because you see they're talking about 80% of the world's governments are now totalitarian, and stuff like that. You're like, how did we
the
get
other 20% are Taco Bell?
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
Welcome to Idiocracy 2.
And it's interesting because the person who directed it actually has won like an Oscar for like documentaries that they've done. So it's kind of like a fictional documentary kind of style to it. It just looks very intriguing. So I'm looking forward to that. So,
all right.
How about you, John?
A few things, of course. I've yet to see Werewolves that I'm very excited about and talked about last time. But now, coming January 17th, is another one called Wolfman.
Oh, yeah.
Another lycanthropy stuff that came out of like cryptids, and I love that stuff. I'm going to watch that garbage. I'm gonna one that's not about any kind of cryptids, coming January 9th on Netflix. Oh, it's Wolfman's at the theater. I don't think I said that. January 9th on Netflix, American Primeval. So
What's that?
This is a series, takes place in 1857, and it's just the brutality of the American frontier. It's like it's the Western time frame, and it doesn't look like a Western. It's just it's not cowboys and Indians looking kind of show. It's like a grittier kind of like crime and murder and stuff is happening. So this primeval and early America.
Cool.
The trailer looked good, so I'm going to give it a shot. Don't know if it's for me or not, but I want to find out. The thing I'm most looking forward to is I will once again have the opportunity to be out at the Consumer Electronics Show.
Sweet.
The 2025 CES is going to be the second week of January. I'll be there January 7th and 8th at the My Arcade booth in the electronics and gaming section. And I was there last year and got to meet a lot of people. If you are at CES, stop by. I'll be standing at the booth for 2 full days. And plus it's a chance to get an early look at a lot of the cool things that My Arcade is coming out with. And I've had a couple of calls with my guy there, and there is a lot of cool stuff getting announced at CES this year. So I'm excited to be at the release, at the spot where it's happening. And I'll be able to share it with our YouTube viewers. George, how about you? What do you got coming up?
Well, I've got a triple of television shows in their sophomore season. So first one up, Squid Game season 2, the day that this podcast drops on December 26th over on Netflix. I'm looking forward to that. Mo already mentioned The Rig season 2 over on Amazon January 2nd. I love the first season. Definitely looking forward to this one. But the thing I'm looking forward to the most was kind of a show that just came out of left field last year called The Recruit. And this is on Netflix. It'll be January 3rd when it releases for season 2. This is the one about the, it's kind of like, it's not really workplace comedy. It's like comedy action, I guess, but it's a guy who's a lawyer that kind of gets recruited by the CIA to become almost a lawyer field agent kind of guy.
You did talk about that.
And
yeah.
He's super intelligent, but he gets into situations that he is way underqualified to deal with. And it was a very fun, like kind of midwinter break series, which now that a lot of the shows that I love that popped out in the fall are taking their winter break hiatus, things like The Rig and Squid Game and Recruit will fill in those gaps for me. So I have new entertainment to keep me going until my stuff pops back in the springtime.
That's nice to have those things staggered like that, isn't it? Well, and plus there's the ones that you guys just gave me, the Moe's movie Georgia series. I got that coming in to watch too. A lot of good stuff going into the holidays. Before we leave you for this episode, as I always like to do during the show, I want to thank a couple more brand new Patreon supporters. These are folks who listen to the show, watch us on YouTube, but they decided that they want to support what we do financially with a regular monthly pledge. I want to thank, love this, Bok 2000 and Arrow 74, 2 more patrons that joined us just in the last few weeks. Look, all they had to do was go over to GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon. You sign in for an account, you pick a level for as little as $1 a month. You can join Bok and Arrow and so many others who have become part of the lifeblood of this show and our YouTube. They continue to support us and make what we do possible. So we thank you guys, and we thank everyone that is one of our supporters over on Patreon. Means the world to us. Now, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the show. But don't worry, we're going to be back in the new year with a new one. And next week is a backtrack edition of our show where we pick a single nostalgic topic and dig in deep. George, would you do the honors and let the fourth listener know what's coming up next week?
Absolutely. Whether you're an intruder or an evil smiley face, you're really going to enjoy this episode. We're going to be talking about the classic seminal video game Berserk. Had its hit run in the arcades, definitely was a favorite on the Atari 2600 back in the day, and we're going to dig in deep and talk all about it next week.
You're not going to want to miss that one. I think it's going to be fun. Until then, I am John. George, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Mo, you know I appreciate you.
Always fun, man.
Fourth listener is you we all appreciate most of all, though. And we can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
GenXGrownUp is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
While she shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Okay. That's enough of that.
Okay.
I think we made it through there.
I gotta
redid
go
the out.
check on them real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, 2 more episodes just dropped, I saw.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, just today, I think, actually.
I didn't know that.
So definitely be checking
While you
that
were
out soon.
While you were talking, I added your movie too, along with those 2 TV shows that I just added. Because I'm like, by the time I get done with this, I'll have something fun to watch tonight.
Yeah.
You've got questions, we've got answers. Business leadership, ownership, and sales can be challenging. Tune into the Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast to learn from the world's experts. Join me, your host, Diane Helbig, as I chat with people who have expertise in various areas of business. You'll enjoy the lively conversations that are focused on providing you with the ideas, tips, and suggestions you need to realize greater success. Get what you need for your business when you need it from the people who have the answers. Accelerate Your Business Growth is part of the Evergreen Podcast Network and is available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.